Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney. And you've only said about 17,000 times.
I just could not say the word horror for some reason.
It really got you.
It did. How are you?
No. I'm making it. I went to work last night from 10 to 12. I was actually there from 9:45 to 12:45, but that's fine. Those are the same, I guess.
Yeah.
But it ended up being really nice. It was the closing party for Mrs. Doubtfire, and so I knew a few of the cast already, and they're just super nice people, and yeah. So it was at least a very chill evening,
Yeah.
even if it wasn't it was I got there at 9:45 on a Sunday. And
when you told me you had to go into work at 10, I was like, no, absolutely not. I would quit my job.
Such a weird night, but then Riley drove me home, which was nice, so I didn't have to pay for a cab. She was like, I'm gonna walk home. I was like, no, I normally pay $10 for a cab, but if I don't have to pay $10 to you, I'll let you drive me home too.
Perfect.
Bless her. And I think there was something else I was going to tell you theater related, and I don't remember what it was. But what is today?
Today is May 30th.
No. What is today in the future?
Oh, June 5th.
Okay. Never mind.
Okay.
Everything's fine. Or you.
I exist.
That's a positive.
It is. Yeah. Something like that. We recorded an episode yesterday, and then we already recorded one episode today, and we're recording 2 more episodes today, and I had a really bad day yesterday. So I've been drinking rum on an empty stomach since noon. That's where we're at in life.
Did you watch Obi-Wan yet?
No, it's really hard to watch TV you want to concentrate on when you're crying.
Oh, fair. You should have watched Grey's. Is there something you need to watch?
No, I'm caught up on Grey's, unfortunately. And actually, everybody cried at the season finale of Grey's, and I didn't.
I just cry every episode of Grey's, so.
I was watching it, and I was like, this is an episode that I should be crying during. I get why everyone's upset. I don't feel anything. And I think I'm just so pissed off that Grey's is still on that I don't feel anything anymore.
I think that's fair.
It's
a fair assessment.
The fact that this was not the series finale and just a season finale, I can't believe I'm going to have to watch a whole nother season of the show.
Yes, because you are required. I'm required to watch.
I am. I'm not, but I am.
Right.
Yeah, there's that. But RuPaul's Drag Race was great this week.
Oh,
so that was good. Yeah. Have we? Yeah, we've recorded since I worked the show with Alyssa Edwards, right?
Yeah, that was 1,000 years ago, right?
I don't know. It was only a week ago. No, it would have been on yesterday's episode that I never actually talked about yesterday.
Oh, well, tell me now.
So I worked the drag show with Alyssa Edwards, and she was just the nicest human. Justin, so great. I loved it. It was a long shift, and I was very tired, but I loved it.
You texted me about it. Now I'm recalling it.
Oh, yeah. We talked about it, just not on the show. Because I was like, we recorded on Saturday, though. So, I couldn't have worked the shit. No, because then I went to that, and then I went to the funeral. So, I never recorded anything since then.
Adds up.
Yes. But, yeah, no, it was great. The show was a good drag show, but, one of my friends was there for the VIP meet and greet before the show, and they were he was asking me if I would even like who I worked for. I go, I work for the theater, so I will probably talk to all of Alyssa's managers. I will probably not say a word to Alyssa. That's just how these things usually end up working. But then at the end of the show, he ended up just hanging out and talking, and I met him and all of his dancers, and the dance teachers from his dance school were giving me hugs, and they were so excited that I was also a teacher, and we were talking about kids and being influences in their lives and everything, and it just was And he was like, I am a drag queen for fun, but like that's not who I am. Who I am is a dance teacher. And like being a teacher is the greatest gift I've ever received, not that I've ever given. And I was like, I respect you so much more as a human after that. And it was lovely. It was worth not getting home till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So I do have some good in my life some days.
And it reminded me, speaking of theater, what I was going to tell you
Oh, okay.
about. And it was speaking of work. That's why I started with my work story. I was at work, let's say Friday, because I think that's the day it was. And there were these two women in from England, and I was talking to them, and we were like chatting it up. And she was like, "It's so busy," and I was like, "I know. I think it's because of Memorial Day weekend. Like, we got a lot going on here."
Yeah.
And she was like, "We were trying to escape the madness," and I was like, "Well, you didn't do it." I swear, like, they were so nice. And then she was talking about England, and she was like, "Oh, have you ever been?" I was like, "No." And she was like, "Oh, you should go for the Queen celebration." I was like, "Oh, that would be nice. When is that?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's this year. That's her 70th year or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, sounds great. Excellent." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe, but when is it?" She was like, "It's June 5th." I was like, "Do you know what today is?" Like, it's like, "Do you think I'm just going to hop on a train to London tomorrow? Like, what is happening?"
Yes, but this comes out on June 5th.
It does.
Yay!
I thought about it. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Well, so I was there for her 60th
Oh,
in 2012, but I was not actually there during the celebration. I was there right between the celebration and the Olympics. So like it was basically still a party city, and it was lovely. But also related to the Queen, today, June 5th, is her 70th anniversary of being Queen. And on Saturday, the 11th of this month of June, so less than a week from when this episode airs, she will officially become the second longest reigning monarch in history. She will surpass King Bhumibol of Thailand to become the second longest reigning monarch, which will also make her the longest to ever reign only as an adult, because the first is King Louis XIV, who started reigning when he was 14. So right now, King Bhumibol is the longest reigning adult, but Queen Elizabeth is going to overtake that this week.
get it.
I have it saved as an event in my calendar.
It should be.
I mean, she only became the third longest reigning monarch 2 weeks ago. That was also saved as an event in my calendar.
Happy day. How exciting.
I'm obsessed. I have a picture of her in my classroom.
Aw.
The kids are sometimes like, "Miss Ludwig, why is the Queen still staring at me?" And I'm like, because you deserve it.
Sure, keep you on your toes.
Yes.
Us on our toes.
Spiritual AF.
Spiritual AF. And today is what it should be. Namaste. The slay in me recognizes the slay in you. Namaste.
I love that. You know what else I love? Stargate.
Yes, you do.
Stargate.
Yeah, you do.
Stargate SG1. Season 1. Episode 12. It's called Fire and Water. And it was, maybe fairly, rated only 7.1 stars.
I mean, I had so much hope. Like, it wasn't the worst episode of TV I've seen.
No.
Like,
but it also goes back to that building more myths without answering the questions that we talked about last week. I didn't hate what it did, but I didn't need it right now.
right.
It premiered on October 17th, 1997. The top song was, and will continue to be for the rest of the year of 1997, Candle in the Wind 1997 / Something About the Way You Look Tonight by Elton John, speaking of the royal family.
Because we like to tie everything together here.
Rest in peace, Princess Diana.
R.I.P. Diana.
The top movie was still Kiss the Girls.
Excellent.
Absolutely nothing interesting happened that day.
Cool.
Which is not great, but it's better than another plane crash. So,
well, the next day was Caitlin Salsamine's 5th birthday.
Oh, happy 5th birthday. My brother wasn't even born yet.
My sister wasn't born yet. Good times.
It was directed by Alan Eastman. This is the only episode of the show that he directed. He did direct like one episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine and one episode of Star Trek Voyager. He directed 12 episodes of Andromeda. It's kind of the thing that he did the most. Don't really know anything about him. The story was by Brad Wright and Catherine Powers, and the teleplay was by Catherine Powers. So we're all repeats. The guest star was Gerard Plunkett. He was actually already in an episode of Stargate as a different character in the Baraka Divide, which was the one where they turned into cavemen.
Yes.
He was somebody in that episode, but this time he is Nam, who is the fish alien. So it doesn't matter that he's already been in it. You don't see his face anyway.
Nope.
He's best known for the movies Snakes on a Plane and Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch might be the worst movie I've ever seen.
I've heard that, but I haven't seen either of those.
But he was also in 4 episodes of Fringe and 4 episodes of Million Little Things.
I wonder if I've seen him. His voice sounded really familiar,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't seen any of the things you just mentioned. I did watch the very first episode of Million Little Things, and I decided it was too sad and I could never watch it.
Fair. The blurb for the show, once again, gives away the whole plot. But it's okay, because if you're listening to this, you've already watched the episode.
Yes.
And the blurb says, Daniel Jackson is presumed dead after an alien abducts him and sends the rest of the SG team home.
Yes.
Now, if you hadn't read this blurb, or, I don't know, watched the next 10 years of Stargate, the first half of this episode would be incredibly jarring.
Yes.
I don't know how you felt watching it. I would love to know.
So it was, I did put thoughts down. Where'd I go? Oh, I put that he can't be dead. That doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Because I figured there's, 1,000 more years of Stargate. He's got to be there for a while. He's not Kowalski. And he's such a major player. But I was like, I don't know what's happened. I was very confused. And at first when they came back, I thought someone said something about time travel. And I don't know if I misheard that or if it was something that was just not addressed. And so I was like, maybe they had to go back in time and save him.
Oh.
And so I don't know if I just confused myself and was like, oh, this makes sense. If it was time travel, they just have to go back and save him. Everything's fine. So he did die. But
That would, that if I had misheard time travel somewhere in there too, I'd also be like, yeah, no big deal. He's
right.
fine.
So that's
Got it. Cool.
like, he wasn't gone. But I didn't know why until
They did such a good job of it though, that like if I was watching this for the first time in 1997, I would be convinced that he was actually dead.
I would have thought so too. I would have thought this is a 1-season show. He's gonna die, and then it's over at episode 20 and we're done. Like,
And we're done. We're never gonna have answers.
absolutely.
So the episode starts with Hammond getting a brief ready when all of a sudden the gate opens from off-world, but no one is supposed to be coming back. So they're very confused.
Yes.
The SG-1 team comes through the gate in shock, not able to talk, minus a team member. And they report, they look rough. And they report that Daniel Jackson is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Just like
shocking. And then like credits, like, oh, okay, cool. Daniel's dead.
Yep.
So then obviously because they're all in shock, they go to the medical bay and Dr. Fraser is like trying to figure out what happened, but also to calm them down. And Sam is like fully panicking. Teal'c also does not do well with doctors, we learn. He's like, why are you touching me? Why are you looking at me? What do you want from me? I was like, okay.
I do want to say that one of the first things I did think about in this episode was how last week when you discussed how it would have been good to end the episode with them not coming back through the Stargate, how if they had done something similar to that and still been on Teal'c when this happened or somehow related, that we started with them coming back from the Stargate, it would have like meshed really well.
Yeah.
Instead, it was not that way.
It was not that at all. So then we find out that Jack is having some photosensitivity issues, but so Dr. Fraser can't really test anyone, but she's mostly just worried about their mental health because she is a good person.
Mm-hmm.
So then we flash to the debriefing, and instead of having like a team debrief, they're all going individually because they have to record it so that they have files to talk about Daniel's death.
Yeah.
And we find out
this recording quality is tragic. The like individual recordings, I was like,
oh yeah. Yeah, it's 1997 government videotape. Like, right. We're not talking high tech here at all.
No, not at all.
So we find out through all the different interviews that Daniel was burned to death, and the rest of the team only survived because they submerged themselves underwater, which explains why they looked like absolute wet dogs when they came back through the gate.
But I bet you feel bad about punching him in the face last week now.
Oh, Daniel? He almost got everyone killed. This time he only got himself killed.
True.
General Hammond is trying to be sympathetic, and Jack has a breakdown. This episode was really hard to watch in a lot of ways because it was just, and I think that's why it was rated so low. It was just emotionally triggering for the whole episode.
Also such a different feel than what we're used to. I know that it's still the first season. I know they're still obviously figuring things out, but it felt kind of like a different show in this episode.
Yeah.
The way it was handled, maybe not so much the last scene, but the rest of the episode pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dr. Fraser reports to General Hammond that the tests show that they're all okay, but she's still very worried about PTSD. And my note says, General Hammond is all walk tall, big stick.
You're not wrong.
And he's like, no, the best thing for them is to get them back on a mission. That's how they'll get over their trauma, go back to work.
Yes, right now, today.
Which I have conflicting feelings about, because I totally understand if you wallow in it for too long and don't do work, you're just going to sit with that grief. But also maybe don't send them to another alien planet when their friend just died on an alien planet.
Yeah. There's something to be said for grieving, but also I'm the person that distraction is the only thing that cures me.
Yeah.
Of most elements in my life. And so I'm okay, distractions are good, but maybe use a different technique. Maybe be why don't you research this together or go do this in this world we already live in together.
Right. Which eventually does become the technique.
Right. Because also think about it. If you sent these people out when they're at this high emotional state to a new planet they've never been to,
they're not going to make the best decisions.
Right. They're going to come across essentially probably someone they've never met, a race they've never met, maybe an alien they've never met. And they're going to just kill it because they're going to be the last time we did this, Daniel Jackson died.
Right.
They're not learn anything. They're not going to do any of the research they need. It's just going to be bad.
Yeah. So Dr. Fraser is listen, you don't know aliens. I don't know aliens. Nobody knows aliens. Let's not. I'm requesting 7 days before they work. And he was okay, fine. I will give you 7 days. And then they do the most depressing thing that they could ever do on the show and just hold a full military funeral in the gate room.
Yep.
Taps and all.
Yep.
Jack gives a beautiful eulogy, and then they fold the flag and they give it to Jack, and Jack gives it to Teal'c, and then Jack and Sam put a wreath in the Stargate and like sobbing.
My question.
Yeah.
When you just put things in the Stargate, where do they go? Are they sending this wreath to the planet they just left him on?
Maybe.
Like, the planet, somebody's just going to be walking around and like a wreath shows up on the ground? Did they think this through? Because that feels like a weird choice.
I mean, maybe it's not really dialed to anywhere. It's just open. And then it's just going into the ether the way Kowalski's brain did.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's fair.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a good question, though. So then they're having this beautiful, sad funeral, and all of a sudden the funeral fades to Daniel being stuck in an underwater cavern.
But he's not dead. He's just abandoned.
Not dead. Whew. Good thing you just made us cry through that funeral just to say not dead.
JK.
But then we go to the second part of the funeral where Jack's holding a wake at his house for Daniel. And he's like sharing stories about Daniel and Sharae, and it's like really sweet. And then Teal'c is like, I don't understand what we're doing here.
Let's talk about Teal'c's outfit choices. I don't understand. He's wearing like a straw hat.
Yeah.
And it was also very weird seeing them all out of uniform.
Yeah.
Always kind of.
But here's the thing: whenever Teal'c is out of uniform and not on base, he's got some kind of weird hat on to hide his forehead. I don't know why they chose a giant straw hat, but they did.
Totally get him wearing a hat. Totally fine. Hat choices, though.
Right. But he's also like, what is this? And Sam's like, it's a wake, it's a party. And he's like, when someone dies on Teal'c, we don't eat or sleep or drink for 3 days. And she was like, well, here we give him a jolly send-off. So Jack is trying to pour some beer for Sam, and when he sees the bubbles in the cup, he starts having weird flashbacks to Daniel dying. And so that's weird.
Yep.
Then we switch over to Daniel, where some alien is like, read this. But not really, because he doesn't say anything. He just points to the wall.
Right.
And Daniel's like, oh, it's like old cuneiform writing. I think it says, what fate Omaroka.
Yeah.
And so then the alien is like, and attacks him again.
Yeah. He's like, yes, what fate Omaroka? He's like, I that's what I said.
Yeah. Then we go back to the wake, and Jack is like playing street hockey by himself and like having a breakdown, and then he smashes General Hammond's car window with the hockey stick, and he's like, get this car out of here. What did that car ever do to you, sir?
Right.
And Hammond's like, what's going on? He's like, I'm gonna retire. And he's like, no, you're not.
I was like, do you not know him? This is his go-to. Someone dies, he retires.
Right.
That's how it goes.
Right. And so Hammond's like, listen, your next mission, should you choose to accept it, and actually I'm giving you the choice. It's not an order, it's a request. You guys need to go to Daniel's apartment and like clean it out, because it has to be SG because of classified stuff, but also like you guys are the closest thing he ever had to family.
Right.
And then he was like, by the way, that was my car.
I trust you'll fix that.
Jack just goes, man, you should really get that window fixed. Oh, okay, Jack. Yeah. Then we go back to Daniel in his underwater cavern, and he is like translating the text, and it's like some Hammurabi's code bullshit. And he's like, I can't translate anymore because I need to know where my friends are. And then this is the first time the alien starts talking. And he's like, wait, what? And the alien's like, I want to know what the fate, like what fate Omaroka. And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, tell me or I'll kill you. And he's like, gonna be a little bit hard because I don't fucking know.
This Nim, he kind of reminded me of is it the Oots?
Yeah.
Because he's just in a lot of pain and he really doesn't want to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
He just wants to help and he wants to know where his loved ones are. It's the same thing with the Ood.
Yeah. We don't know that yet at this point, though. We just think he's a little bit cuckoo.
I mean, he does seem a little cuckoo.
Then we go back to the rest of the team, and they're at Daniel's apartment cleaning it out. And Sam is reading Daniel's journals, and Jack is like, "Don't do that. Do you know how he would feel if he knew that you were awkward?" And then Teal'c starts talking about this game that they used to play together. It's an old Egyptian game called the Jackal and the Hound.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all realize that they're having the same weird flashback.
Yeah.
And Jack is like, I don't think this is PTSD. Something is going on. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Luckily, we do get to understand because we go back to Daniel and Nam, and the alien man is like, which never in the episode does the alien tell Daniel his name. The only time we learn the alien's name is at the very end of the episode when Daniel just calls him by his name like we knew that the whole time.
You're right. I missed that.
Yeah. So most of my notes just say the alien because I knew his name from the credits, but I was waiting for them to tell me, and then they didn't. So the alien says that he gave the team the memory of Daniel dying so that they wouldn't come looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept Daniel because Daniel is the oldest.
Right. Daniel's
not the oldest. He just has the most ancient knowledge.
Yes.
Omaroka was the alien's mate, and he's trying to find out what happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go back to SG base where we find out Dr. Fraser is explaining to them that they all three have incredibly low levels of serotonin. And she's like, which could make sense by itself because obviously your friend just died, you're pretty depressed.
Right.
Like that makes sense, except that it doesn't then include adding to all these other things. It doesn't make sense. Also, because we were worried about your serotonin levels, we looked at the brain scan and you all three have the same weird dark mark on your brain scan. As they're trying to figure out what that weird dark mark could be, the gate starts opening again. And all three of them rush to the gate like they just know Daniel's going to come through it. And they like see Daniel, but then it's not actually Daniel, and it's the SG6 team.
This threw me off because I thought it was Daniel too, and I was like, he was just trapped down like underground.
I thought like the alien pretended to be Daniel or something. Like I was a little perturbed, but then I realized that's because it didn't actually look like Daniel. That was in Jack's mind. And then they're like, why did you all think it was Daniel? Is he dead or is he not dead? And they were like, Jack's like, we all saw him die. He's definitely gone. Also, he's definitely still alive.
Right. He's definitely dead and he's definitely alive.
And they were like, yeah, no, we agree. And him's like, I don't.
Sense.
And then Jack says that they have to go back. And as soon as he says they have to go back, he starts having like this crazy shooting migraine pain in his head. So something's fucked up.
Right.
Then we go back to the underwater cave and Daniel is trying to escape, but Nam stops him. And he's like still trying to figure everything out. And Daniel's like, I need more information. So they go back and forth, and Daniel's trying to remember that everything he can about Babylon. So Omeroka died in Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't know for sure that she's dead. Daniel assumes she's dead because that was 4,000 years ago. But and then he's like, just come back to Earth with me, and like, I will go through my libraries. I will help you figure it out. And he's like, no, I'm not going to Earth because all humans serve the Goa'uld. And Daniel's like, no, we don't. And he's like, your friend had one with him. And he's like, well, yeah, see, this where it gets a little tricky. But no, we definitely don't.
Yes, but no, it's fine.
Right. Yeah. So then we go back to the team at the base, and they're trying to do some like meditation therapy to get them to figure out what actually happened. And they're listening to this weird wave track, and Jack is talking shit about how it doesn't work, but like Teal'c is fully hypnotized.
Well, this was really fun. Is this the part where they were doing the moon music?
Yeah. The
It was really funny because I was watching this at the bar yesterday while Noelle was reviewing the contracts and stuff we were drafting, and I was watching it. And as this came on, I was like, we're listening to moon music. Some like jazz music came on at the Irish pub I was at. I was like, this is a very strange sensation right now.
Yeah, no.
I know what's happening. So I was very taken aback in the scene.
And then they Hammond's like, you're not going back to active duty until we figure out what actually happened, which Jack is not thrilled about.
Correct.
Then we go back to Daniel, and Daniel's talking to Nam about what he did and how he implanted these memories in the rest of the team. And then Daniel's like, my dude, you have mind control. Just look at my mind and find things that you're looking for that are supposedly in there. And he's like, I could, but like, it's going to hurt a lot. And he's like, okay. And he's like, you might die. And he's like, well, what are my choices? Die that way or die this way?
Can we also talk about the fact that Daniel Jackson is very attractive in this episode?
Yeah, I love when Daniel doesn't wear his glasses.
He is very attractive in this one.
A minute, like at the beginning, I remember thinking, oh, he doesn't have his glasses on. And then I go, well, I guess that makes sense. But like, I guess it made sense for him to be down here without his glasses, but then he doesn't have them for the whole time. And I was very perplexed.
I also had that thought, yeah.
But I do love when Daniel doesn't have his glasses on. Back to the team. And they're like, okay, tell us everything that happened. And they were like, okay, so we were there for like 25 minutes. And Hammond's like, incorrect. You were there for 4 hours. And they were like, then what the fuck happened to the other 3.5?
Right.
And they were like, well, we can hypnotize you. And Jack's like, I'm not being fucking hypnotized. That's bullshit. And he's like, we're just going to go back. And as soon as he says we're going to go back, Sam like freaks out and was like, we can't do that. And then she's like,
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
She's like, I don't even know. And so then the psychiatrist is like, that sounds like conditioned response. And hypnotize is where we're going.
Yes.
And Sam is like, I will do it. I've been hypnotized before with undergrad stuff. I don't know if it'll work on Teal'c because I don't know what his brain is like. And Jack's an asshole. So I guess I got this. Mm-hmm. So they hypnotize Sam, and she starts to remember everything that happened before the fake memory. And they got to this planet just like they thought they did. And then they encountered Nam on the beach. He saw them and he got distressed because he could sense the Goa'uld.
Yeah.
And he wrote a note in the sand, and Daniel can read it. So then The alien had what? Oh, the alien took them into some kind of lab to like implant these memories. My handwriting. I got toward the end of the night and I stopped making sense, apparently.
Nice.
To give them the fake memory. And so now Sam is like realizing that the memory is fake and kind of freaking out and like crying. And they realize that means that Daniel is absolutely alive and they do have to go back and find him. So then we go back to Daniel, who is in that same weird lab contraption machine, having memories extracted from him. Mm-hmm. And he tells Nam that Omaroka was murdered by Bellis in Babylon, and that he's so very sorry.
Do you know anything about the stories, like historically?
Well, that's some of my trivia.
Okay, I'll wait. We'll come back to it.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Daniel, they find out that Bellis was like old and he murdered Omaroka. And so Nam is very sad. Then the team comes back to the planet to find Daniel. Daniel and Nam come out of the water. And Daniel's like, can you please let me go? Like, and he's like, we could be friends. And Nam's like, maybe someday, but like, I need to grieve because I don't know that I trust humans still.
Right. Which, like, fair.
Right. And then he also tells Daniel, it was so sweet. He said, one day you will find out what fate Sharae.
I know.
It was so sweet.
And that was one thing about this episode that I liked. We talked so much about Sharae.
I knew you would feel that way.
We feel like we're coming to her next episode. If this was not a setup for her to be in the next episode, I will riot.
And then they're leaving to go back to Earth, and they apologize. Daniel's like, I just want to go home and go to bed. They were like, oh, sorry about your apartment. He's like, what? And we were like, yeah, we just cleaned it out like right after the memorial service. He was like, the memorial service? And Sam's like, yeah, the Colonel said some really nice things. And he was like, he did? Oh, wait, he did? I was like, I love them. I love the team.
I know. They're good people.
Do you have any final thoughts before I share our trivia?
As a matter of fact, I do have quite a few.
Fantastic.
This episode rated lower correctly, but I feel like it was written more cohesively with the series a bit.
Okay.
Because for one, the whole Sharae bit, I feel like the Omaroka bit was to introduce us to this new race that we're going to need, which again, we don't even know what we're doing right now. So maybe we don't need another alien race, but I feel like this was meant to be a parallel to set us up for Sharae. I do not think she's dead.
Right.
But I think it's going to be like a Bellis Omaroka situation with Apophis Sharae.
Okay.
And so I think it was meant to be as a setup for a parallel for us to move into what's happening with Sharae, but that it's going to come out differently because Daniel's going to save her, whereas Nim was not able to do that. So
okay. I like
that is one of the thoughts I had. And then I feel like they also just picked up a psychology textbook and threw it in the air and picked out things to discuss. For example, when they were talking about they're like, Daniel's dead, but he's alive. All I could think of was Schrodinger's cat. Like, I was like, okay. And then when they were talking about like conditioning, I was like, okay, Pavlov's dog. Like, we're just like,
they just picked the most obvious psychology things you could touch.
And then we talk about hypnosis. And I'm like, okay, this is just
next thing you know, the Stanford prison experiment's going to be happening.
Next thing. And it's like, so I was like, this was kind of like a cliche, slower, but not an unconnected, but subtly connected episode.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about it. So I didn't hate it. And I do think it's going to be a parallel for setting us up for what's happening with Apophis and Sharae. But I
definitely know why it was rated one of the lowest of the season. I didn't hate it, but so trivia. one of the trivia facts is just that Gerard Plunkett is a different character in this episode than he was in his first appearance, which we talked about. This one I actually caught during the episode, but when Captain Carter is reading his journal, she says it says Colonel O'Neill thinks I'm a geek. I have no idea how to get us back. I'll never get paid.
Yeah.
Which in the movie, when Daniel Jackson is recording his little logs into his thing, he does say that Colonel O'Neill thinks he's a geek and that he'll never get paid. That was actually like from the movie.
That's nice. I like that.
Yes. The board game that Teal'c was talking about, the Hound and the Jackal, it has actually been found in Middle Egyptian tombs, but they could not have played it together because no one knows how it is played.
Yes. I did know that. I did know that one, yeah.
And then the last one, the big one, is that Omeroka is actually a Babylonian myth. Omeroka, who's also known as Talat, was the goddess of the salt sea and was often depicted in mythology as a sea serpent or a dragon.
Okay.
So she checks out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
So that is our trivia.
Yeah.
And our thoughts. Who do you want to punch?
I will say this is a strange choice, but I did want to punch the Colonel in the face. Is it Colonel Hammond? What is he?
Oh, General Hammond.
Hammond. I was their ranks wrong. General Hammond, because for the first half of the episode, he did not care about their mental health enough, and he just kept trying to throw them into stuff. And he kept saying, like, it almost seemed like he thought they were crazy for the things they were thinking, when clearly the psychiatrist and the doctor were like, yo, they're having PTSD and something's going on. Like, we need to figure it out. We'll keep going forward. So
that is absolutely fair. And I would choose him, but to be different, I'm going to choose Nam, because while I know that he is jaded and having some issues, if he would have just like asked Daniel for help, Daniel would have helped him.
Right.
Daniel helps everyone.
Also, to be fair, he did think that the Goa'uld was controlling him, and he wasn't in control of himself. He thought that all humans were controlled by the Goa'uld.
Yeah, but like he could tell that the larva was in Teal'c, so like he could tell that there wasn't Goa'uld in the other ones.
They're not following the Goa'uld.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I mean,
communication.
yes, communication is key.
Who is your MVP?
How about Daniel Jackson? He really wanted to help. He was really struggling. Everyone thought he was dead. And he really felt for Nim, even though he was starting to kill him.
Yeah. Daniel is probably the best, but I'm going to also throw in Dr. Fraser for not giving up on the team's mental health.
She would have been my other choice, yes, for sure. For sure.
I was afraid that was going to be a really long episode because I had like 15 pages of notes,
right.
But they were just really long notes. Like each note was really long instead of the notes themselves being a lot.
Yeah.
So apparently not. It's hard. I mean, Stargate is not the format of a show that's going to take 8 years to dissect. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But, if you have thoughts or you have ever been both dead and not dead, please email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com.
We'll find us. It's fine.
Just send us an email at Gmail. You can follow us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can follow me at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CECloud13.
And I think next week is the halfway point of season 1 of Stargate. I think, or like, well,
Episode 12.
yeah, I think there's 23 episodes. So, like, there's not a real halfway because it's an odd number. So, we're like just about in the middle right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that would make something. We're right there.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. We're doing it. We will see you on Thursday for Thriller Thursday, where we are starting season 2 of Bates Motel. And we will finish Bates Motel before we finish season 1 of Stargate.
Yes, absolutely.
But basically, just kidding, but pretty close. All right. We will see you guys later.
Namaste.
Namaste.